Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2CTV and the first live update of the day coming from the European Union. There's an absolute chaotic situation going on both in Brussels and Strasbourg. The establishments, the Eurocrats, have been trying their best over the last 24 hours to ensure the safety of Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission. Yes, she has won the vote in the fake plastic European Parliament, despite being found guilty by the courts in the EU. Of course, their own courts. That explains a lot, obviously, for not being transparent and covering up some of the sensitive information about the programs with Pfizer and other big pharma and everything else that happened during the lockdown and post-lockdown. Somehow she's managed to win the support of the members of the European Parliament, but not all of them, of course. This is the whole point of this whole scandal, because what we're going to do, we're going to explain the reality of the situation, because of course the European Union always make sure they have their own people in the European Parliament, despite the rise of the anti-EU MEPs, the nationalists, the populists, and everybody else, the Eurosceptics. They've been trying their best to ensure that the mechanism in the European Parliament is to a point where it doesn't really matter if you get a lot of right-wing MEPs being elected. And this is what we have. She's now secured another 5-year term as the dictator of the European Union. 5 years. She managed to get 401 MEPs to vote in her favor, 284 voted against, and 15 decided to abstain. And of course, when the result came out, this was her reaction.
Votes in favor, 401. Votes against.
So, there's a problem here because they've created this fallacy of, well, we voted for her. She got elected, technically. Guess who else gets elected when they become leader? The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei. That role, technically, they do vote for her. But is it the people who vote for that role? No. It's what they have, the Sharia Council in Iran, that basically a group of 5 to 10 beardy, weirdy old men who sit around and they vote unanimously somehow. And the same thing as when Stalin died. And of course, the committee of the Communist Party had to vote and elect the next leader unanimously somehow. It's the same concept. It's not really an elected position. It's basically behind closed doors and they have their own people. It's not even the European Parliament that has the power, because the candidate or the person, which is Ursula von der Leyen, are presented to them, imposed onto them, and they have no choice. So, but not all MEPs are happy about this. The whole situation, as we speak, in Brussels is kicking off. A number of them are protesting. We had actually this one. You want to pay attention to this one. This video I'm about to show you has subtitles, English subtitles. She's a Polish MEP, one of the best ones I've seen in a long time, who decided to stand up and tell the truth about Ursula von der Leyen being corrupt, being a corrupt leader, and of course being the face of net zero and mass migration.
Hernik. Pani Przewodnicząca, Szanowni Europosłowie, Pani Urszulo, najwyższy czas, by ktoś wprost Pani powiedział to, co o Pani myśli zdecydowana większość Europejczyków. Wybranie Pani na stanowisko przewodniczącej Komisji Europejskiej w poprzedniej kadencji było ogromnym błędem i niektórzy do dzisiaj mają kaca po tej decyzji. Jest Pani twarzą Europejskiego Zielonego Ładu, który niszczy europejską gospodarkę i rolnictwo, który prowadzi do tego, że z Europy robi się gospodarczy skansen. Jest Pani twarzą wszystkich unijnych klimatycznych wariactw, które prowadzą do tego, że my, Europejczycy, stajemy się coraz biedniejsi. Wreszcie jest Pani twarzą paktu migracyjnego i zwracam się do pani jak kobieta do kobiety, jak matka do matki. Jak pani nie wstyd promować coś takiego jak pakt migracyjny, który prowadzi do tego, że miliony kobiet w Europie i dzieci czuje się zagrożonych na ulicach swoich własnych miast. Odpowiada pani za każdy gwałt, za każdą napaść, za każdą tragedię spowodowaną napływem nielegalnych imigrantów, bo to pani tych ludzi zaprasza tutaj na teren Europy i za to, co pani robi, powinna pani trafić do więzienia, a nie do Komisji Europejskiej. Pani obecność na stanowisku szefowej Komisji Europejskiej to upadek, dalszy upadek Unii Europejskiej. I wie pani, co myślimy o pani Europejskim Zielonym Ładzie? O to. Wie pani, co myślimy o pakcie migracyjnym? O to. Nawet pani nie patrzy w moją stronę.
Time is up.
Wstyd. Chcemy Europy wolnych i suwerennych narodów, a nie chorej lewackiej ideologii. A od Polski ręce precz i wszystkim żołnierzom, którzy w tym momencie bronią wschodniej granicy Unii Europejskiej, powinna się pani kłaniać w pas. Dziękuję.
Now.
If only more politicians in Europe were like her. So, obviously, she told the truth. One of the main concerns is, of course, Ursula von der Leyen over the last few years did become the face of the new Green Deal. She also became the face of the Migration Pact, which is basically imposing a lot of illegal immigrants onto all the other countries. But she's also the face of the EU army. Now, of course, whether you are in Poland or France, your armed forces will be taken over by the EU Defence Union. The only problem is that whilst actually the good news is, while Theresa May also signed the UK into cooperation with the EU Defence Union, luckily we didn't fully signed up to giving up our armed forces. We still essentially have this in the name of cooperation. We have given up some of our sovereignty when it comes to armed forces. If, for example, there is some sort of attack going on, it won't be up to us or even NATO. It will be up to the European Union to tell us exactly how much we'll have to spend and how many, in terms of personnel, we have to send to France, for example. Now, there is another problem that we're currently facing is because while there have been a lot of criticism of Ursula and all the other Eurocrats at the top of the European Union establishment, the media are continuing to suppress the actual truth. And for those watching this from the continent of Europe, you guys know that this sort of footage, these sort of videos are not being broadcast on mainstream media channels. You can find them on social media, you can find them on new media channels like 2CTV, and that's why we do what we do, but the truth is being hidden. And they are saying, well, we're not lying, sure, but you're omitting information. You are censoring information. They don't want to show the division inside the European Union. They want to pretend that what we have is a family of European partners and neighbors who all love each other. And I always say on this channel, they've created a situation that over the last 20, 30 years, all the European so-called neighbors and partners are attacking each other. The Greeks hate the Germans, the Portuguese hate the Spanish, the Italians are still kicking off about the French. Everybody is at it. And they are containing that mess because they say, it's still better than nothing, guys. It's still better than having individual countries being sovereign and basically working for their own national interests, because they are scared that if that happens, 1930s Italy will rise up again, or 1930s Germany will rise up again. Or they will think it will be like 1914 all over again. They are control freaks who are paranoid about the future because they think the future will be backwards if they are not in charge. First super chat from Lily Girl. Thank you, saying nice haircut, Maya. Thank you. 5 years. Lord save us all. But the good thing about Ursula von der Leyen is that she's also incompetent. So she's been the downfall. She's bringing the downfall of the European Union, as we've seen over the last few years. They are in a complete mess because of her. Even Jean-Claude Juncker was not as bad as her. He was a drunk, he was a bit of a weirdo, but he was a good manager. And also, of course, he had a good track record back in the day when he was in government as well. I can't believe I just defended Juncker, but okay. Next super chat from Russell saying, I wish our politicians spoke like her. Kudos. Yeah, well, hopefully, maybe the Reform UK MPs could be as robust as her in the House of Commons on different issues, of course. Starmer, we didn't vote for more EU, we voted for less of them. This is the problem, because Keir Starmer has a good relationship with Ursula von der Leyen and her team, and he used to go to Brussels during the Brexit negotiation days in 2017, 18, 19 days, and because of that, he's going to go there, he's going to negotiate a new deal, he's going to come back and say, we have the best deal for the UK. I wonder who else said this. Rishi Sunak said that with the Windsor Framework. Boris Johnson said that with the protocol. Theresa May said that with, of course, the Chequers deal and everything else. They're going to say the same thing. They're going to say this. Starmer's going to say, now this is the best deal for the UK. In reality, we're going to have to follow more of the rules and more of the red tape and regulations and actually damage our own competitiveness and small and medium-sized businesses who want to compete with the big corporations. The whole entity of the European Union is based on the survival of the corporate system. Not free market capitalism, state corporatism, which goes against capitalism. Mark says, you didn't expect anything else with the von der Leyen not getting any sort of justice, did you? No, of course not. That's why I said I'm not really surprised. I said this last night as well, that I had a feeling she's going to find a way to basically somehow turn the tables in a very crazy way. The result was not even close, despite the fact that until last week, the majority of MEPs are saying they're not happy. Somehow, double the votes of those who voted against decided to vote in favour of her. See the issue. WTF. This unelected demon can now completely do censorship and destroy us more. Well, the good thing is, while we still have thousands of old EU laws in our statute books in the UK, the good news is that we don't really have any more ties in terms of any new laws or legislation coming from the European Union. It doesn't affect us directly, but of course we are still next door to Europe, which means we will indirectly be affected. That is one of the problems. And of course, those in countries that are members of the European Union, that is going to be a big issue for them as well. But the more they increase the size of the European Union, the more they're going to help the nationalist movements, the conservative movements who want to promote democracy, self-determination and sovereignty. So this could actually have a complete, the consequences will be the counterculture will be on the rise. Paul says, you mean people in power get to vote who is the uber power? Fair. Totally democratic and fair. Basically, it's the committee of Stalin all over again. Or, as I said, the Sharia court of the supreme leader of Iran. Jay says, do you think if Poland leave the EU, the rest will follow? Nope, of course not. No. This has been a conversation a lot of people have been having since 2016. So, first things first, Poland, it will be unlikely for them to leave. A lot of the, even the Eastern European countries, it will be unlikely for them to leave. If you're going to have any rebellion, firstly, the European Union will be able to contain it in a sense that when they know there's going to be a fallout, they will basically voluntarily, in a controlled way, change the EU and then come back and say, hey, the EU is gone. It's a different system now, but it's basically the same thing. The countries that could actually have a massive impact in terms of the domino effect will be the two blocks. One is the Nordic countries, the more fiscally conservative countries like Denmark. And then you could have, and obviously they are also the allies of the Dutch, the Netherlands as well. If you have a sound, it's not really about just having a sound government and a conservative government. It's simply about the economies in a visible way being affected. When the European Union basically has a system where when one country goes down, the others go down with them. When one country comes up, the others come up with them. It's to avoid any sort of clashes. But if we get to a point when the next financial crash affects one or two countries more, then you can see the outcry from those places for that country to leave. And if a country like France will be unlikely, obviously, but if a country like France or the Netherlands to leave, then you could see the domino effect. Not really Hungary or Poland or any of those guys. Gojo says, all rather scary. They have a plan and they've been abiding it for years. The world as we know it has been annihilated and molded into the EU ideology. The EU is a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship in democratic clothing. To be fair, it's not even that. The democratic clothing is not even that. I don't think people are buying it anymore. I mean, there are some young kids when they are being brainwashed by their schools and universities, and they get sent on a free trip to Brussels to look at the European Parliament. Yeah, they might be the ones falling for it. But I think ordinary people who are not even in politics, they kind of know that there is no democracy in the EU. That narrative was gone. So it's all about the future generations and what will happen over the next 5 to 10 years. The EU is not going to last anyway, we know that. But it's about whether it's going to collapse or whether they're going to control the collapse, the fall, to devolve it into a new model and basically resell it to the population in Europe. We'll keep you guys posted on this. So we're going to take a break, come back in a bit and talk about Keir Starmer and what he's doing to our country in the United Kingdom when it comes to mass migration. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.